Welcome to the Young and the Restless Daily YAPP for a quick, and by that I mean you're already halfway done, recap of the most amazing or what the heck did we just watch moments on today's episode. Let's get to it. Hold on to your Wi-Fi, folks, because on the Young and the Restless, we're learning that 24 hours without it is a real game changer. While Sally's still wondering why everyone is tripping over themselves to live on a train car and go through a maze to hang out with Cane, she has the same question we all do. Does Audra actually care about Nate at all? Sure, she's got an agenda with Kyle, but when Sally asked her if she didn't think Nate was back home loyally waiting for her, she looked genuinely surprised, as if she forgot he even existed. But the even more surprising thing was that Nate was actually going down memory lane and being a little mini hero for Victoria in a time of need. Didn't see that one coming. And while the only thing they actually did was compare Cole's notes about Legionnaire's disease and break bread together, we all know in Soapland that if two exes are making friends, that is only going to lead to more time together and eventually friends with benefits. With the GC elite stuck in France incommunicado, are Claire and Victoria destined to spend their time with the only two men left in town? And if so, will they be crossing any lines? Want more details? We got you! Soap Central has the best full Y&R recaps on the internet. You can even go back over 30 years and read each and every one of them. If you can't wait until the next episode, we have daily spoilers too. And whatever you do this weekend, do not. Seriously, do not. Forget to read the 2 scoops for some laughs in the as close as we can come to being a watching party without actually being a show. And the best part is, if you agree or disagree, we want to know. As always, share your comments below. Hello everyone! Welcome back to my channel, Pulse Canvas. It's me, Julie here. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Keep watching. So let's dive into today's video. The Young and the Restless spoilers for Friday, June 27th have Nick questioning Cane's intentions, Sharon and Phyllis receiving a painful reminder of their past trauma, and Lily making a bold move with Damien. It turns out that Damien may not be the only person to have a panic attack during the journey he and others from Genoa City have taken to Nice, France, to Cane's chateau. On Friday's show, watch for Sharon and Phyllis to receive a painful reminder of their past trauma. Will the two get caught in a train car that won't open? Or might they become lost in the maze of shrubbery? Sharon and Phyllis have worked very hard at maintaining their new dynamic. They're no longer going to attack each other over Nick or anything else. Will that agreement remain in effect during and after this next crisis? Watch for Nick to question Cane's intentions. There's not a huge history between the two men, but Nick is often the voice of reason in Genoa City. Nick's also very protective of his ex-wife, Phyllis. If she's headed into trouble by allying herself with Cane, Nick may intervene on her behalf. Plus, Nick is going to want to make sure his father, Victor, and Cane don't enter a war over Chancellor Industries. Nick may get Cane to start thinking realistically about getting his dad to give up the company, once owned by the late Catherine. Watch for Lily to make a bold move with Damien. What could it be? We've seen Lily and Damien get closer in the last few weeks. He gifted her with a jazz book in honor of her late father, Neil. The two played cards into the night when neither of them could recently sleep. But what bold move is Lily going to make? She seems not to be interested in reconciling with Cane right now. What better way to send Cane a message that she has moved on than to make him think that she and Damien are romantically involved? As most of the Young and the Restless cast is in the show's version of the French Riviera this month, Y&R's costumer, Mandyline, had her work cut out for her. When Y&R costume designer, Mandyline, first read the scripts about the cast going to the Aristotle Dumas estate in the French Riviera for the mysterious billionaire's big reveal, she knew one thing. She couldn't just go to the characters' existing closets and pick out their traveling wardrobes. Line had to start fresh, but told Y&R Insider that the most important thing was keeping them iconic. Standing backstage amongst the outfits, Line explained that it was going to be a very interesting few days as she planned each character's French Riviera wardrobe. In Genoa City, I could never do this, so it was an opportunity to go bigger than I usually do. And that's a tall order, Lean laughed. Melody Thomas Scott agreed. I can only give Mandyline all the credit in the world, she began. She is fairly new to our show as costume designer. She's incredibly talented, and yes, Nikki has a fabulous wardrobe for the south of France. Scott added that everyone involved in the Dumas storyline looked fantastic, thanks to Lean. Mandy Line says that one of the coolest aspects of her job is what goes on behind the scenes. She sorts each character's clothes on the racks with a divider. Obviously, this keeps things organized, but it's also imperative to her creativity. The first hanger in the section for each character has a tag with notes of the scene, a bag of the accessories, and the complete outfit details, plus a photo of the actor in the costume. Hanging on racks around the room, Line can easily compare outfit patterns and colors, and ensure they will complement one another, not duplicate or clash. Michelle Morgan appreciated Line's creativity for her character, Amanda Sinclair. The recently returned actress shared that Line wanted to give Amanda a fashion boost from her usual business suits to outfits with more flair. Morgan said she was all for it. As for Aristotle Dumas, Line paid special attention to the details. A simple sweater was actually finely woven with weight and texture, and was focused on how he would wear it in his scenes. Line divulged that she had met the new character ahead of time and was excited to help him bring the character to life with an effortless and cool look. On the Thursday, June 26, 2025, episode of The Young and the Restless, Audra stepped up her plan to seduce Kyle, and Billy and Sally disagreed over staying in France. Back in Genoa City, Vicky and Claire shared news of Cole's health. Sally joined Audra near Kane's pool. The redhead commented on the beautiful view from Kane's villa. Audra agreed, but she was referring more to a shirtless Kyle doing sit-ups. Kyle commented on the rainstorm that came through the area the previous night. Sally hoped the weather hadn't affected cell phone service. Audra theorized Genoa City was surviving just fine. Audra updated Kyle on the recent additional guests, Abby, Chance, Lauren, and Michael, who arrived at the chateau. Kyle decided to cool off in the pool. Sally asked Audra what she was up to and noted that Nate was waiting for her at home. Audra said the only thing going on with her and Kyle was business. They just want to pitch Cane an idea. Sally says she caught Audra checking out Kyle and conceded there was a lot to check out. Sally reminded Audra that she knew about Victor's offer to fund Vibrante if she seduced Kyle. Sally suggested to Audra that she was playing with fire. Audra declared she was the shot caller and in control. Kyle returned from the pool. Audra suggested that they approach Dumas about their ideas. Kyle said that he should stop being referred to as Dumas and he should be called Cane Ashby. Plus, Kyle wanted to scrap the whole idea. Kyle pointed out the mystery of Dumas was over. Audra pointed out that there was still some value in the competition. Kyle pointed out that Cane used to work for Jabot, so him choosing between a Jabot fragrance and a Vibrante one would be anticlimactic. Kyle added that the Newmans and the Abbotts don't agree on much, but both families were on the same page about this trip to meet Cane was a bust, and that they were all Genoa City bound. Audra asked Sally if she was staying. The redhead said that the whole thing seemed like a case of smoke and mirrors. Audra said that the trip wasn't a loss. Sally added that the sooner they got out of there, the better. Billy observed for a bit and then made his presence known. He said he agreed with Audra and would be sticking around. Billy suggested that they stay through Cane's gala. Audra didn't want to let go of the idea that Cane could help her. Billy told Sally his relationship with Cane was complicated. He said he had to hand it to Cane for all he's accomplished. Billy said staying or going may be moot. Carter told Billy that the storm wiped out the tracks to the train. Sally said she felt like a hostage with no cell phone service and no way to get out. Billy kissed her and tried to lighten her mood. They headed off to the pool. Audra and Kyle lamented not having cell service. Audra assured Kyle that Cole would pull through. Audra took out a tube of Jabot's birthday suit sunscreen. She admitted it was the best on the market, but playfully warned Kyle not to blab this to the press. "Do you mind?" Audra said, as she handed the lotion to Kyle. Audra said the mystery about Cane now is why he pretended to be Aristotle Dumas. Kyle said there was value in a Jabot to Vibrante perfume competition, but not one that was attached to Cane Ashby Dumas. Audra admitted Kyle was right. They needed a new strategy. Audra suggested they work on it together as they're both stuck there. She asked for additional sunblock lotion on her back. Just then, Billy and Sally came back and saw Kyle rubbing Audra's back. At Crimson Lights, Esther asked Victoria and Claire how Cole was doing. Vicky said Cole's doctors were treating him for Legionnaire's disease. Claire broke down in tears and was comforted by her mother. Esther told Claire and Vicky that Cole was in her prayers. Nate overheard the talk about Cole and gently approached Vicky and Claire. Vicky lamented that even the most aggressive antibiotics weren't working. Nate said that it might take weeks for the pills to kick in. The former doctor said that it was just a matter of finding the right combination of meds. Nate pointed out that Cole was strong. He suggested that Vicky and Claire trust the doctors. Claire excused herself, saying she needed to get some air. Nate suggested to Vicky that she get some air too. They relocated to the back room of Crimson Lights. Nate brought Vicky some coffee. Vicky thanked Nate for his help. She noted that Esther's concern can be a bit much. Vicky said she didn't like Claire seeing her dad in the hospital. She added, it broke her heart that Claire was only recently reunited with Cole, and she's now seen him so ill. Victoria complimented Nate on his time as a doctor because he was so compassionate. She asked him if he ever missed it and if he regretted switching careers. Nate admitted that he wondered if he had made the right call when he switched from business to medicine. He shared that helping Amy reminded him how miraculous medicine can be. Nate added that he and his half-brother, Damien, were still a work in progress, but he is fond of his mother, Amy. Vicky said there were many benefits to being in business with a sibling. Vicky recalled her and Nate being a great team at Newman Enterprises. She wondered if there was an undercurrent of tension between them over the way things ended. Nate said he wasn't holding on to any animosity over how things ended with Victoria. She lamented losing their friendship. Nate said it was sad on his end too, but it worked out as Vicky found happiness with Cole, who's a good man. Vicky hoped Cole would come out of his illness fully recovered. Victoria regretted Claire running off. She also didn't like that Kyle was unreachable. Vicky hoped that Claire had a friend. Claire started to hyperventilate in the park. A shirtless Holden came upon her and tried to calm her down. Holden suggested to Claire that she close her eyes, and he helped her with breathing techniques to get her to calm down. Claire composed herself. She admitted her ordeal was terrifying, and it felt as if she had been having a heart attack. Holden said that he knew what to do because he'd been there. He said he'd had panic attacks before big games in sports. Claire said she didn't know Holden well, but she didn't think he was the type to have a panic attack. She said she didn't want to talk about it for fear of having another attack. Holden said that he was there to help. Holden said he likes to run at this time of the day because the weather is crisper. Claire was grateful that Holden came along. She told him that she was better and that he could go for a run. Claire would buy him a Vesper the next time they saw each other. He suggested there was no time like the present. Claire and Holden arrived at Society for their drink. Claire talked to Vicky on the phone and said she ran into someone who could help her calm down and that Claire would be home soon. Vicky told Nate that Claire was getting help from a friend, but she wondered who it was. Nate got Vicky a dessert. She thanked him for that and for not holding grudges about the past. Nate said it was all behind him. Vicky asked how it was going on the personal front and if he and Audra were going strong. She added that she didn't trust Audra and hoped that Nate was right about Audra having changed. Meanwhile, Holden sensed Claire was upset. She didn't want to talk about it. Claire made a toast to her good fortune in running into Holden. Claire teased Holden that she doubted he lived in Los Angeles because he was in Genoa City so much. Holden revealed he'd lost his job, and he felt stuck as he tried to figure out what his next move would be. Claire asked what Holden would like to do next. He said he'd like to stay in real estate. Holden said he made a connection with a company that was buying up properties in Genoa City. Claire and Holden agreed to keep positive thoughts for each other. Claire was grateful Holden found her. He pointed out that they found each other. The Young and the Restless spoilers preview video for the week of June 30th, July 4 reveals that fans will see some swirling suspicions, along with some heartbreaking family moments. YNR's weekly preview video kicks off with Devin Winters confronting Amanda Sinclair about Kane Ashby and what his real agenda is. Devin will speculate that maybe Kane lured them all there to get them scrambling and make them try to figure out what he's up to. In reality, Devon will suspect that perhaps this is all one big distraction. Even if that was the case, and I knew all about it, why would I reveal any of that to you? Amanda fires back in the weekly promo clip. Next, we should talk about an intriguing alliance, since Holden Novak is secretly still working for Aristotle Dumas, aka Cane. Although Cane's telling all his guests that they're stranded, he may be intentionally misleading them to keep them there. Cane will make it back to Genoa City during the week ahead, so that proves it's indeed possible to travel off his property in Nice. It turns out Cane will meet with Holden, so look for them to sit down together at Crimson Lights. Cane will trust that Holden's managed to keep their little arrangement under the radar. Holden will promise that no one suspects a thing, but Adam Newman could certainly grow suspicious if he catches a glimpse of this meeting. It may not take Adam long to figure out that Cane is Dumas and that Holden has been helping him buy up real estate near all the major companies in GC. Once Claire Newman and Victoria Newman return to the hospital in Chicago, Cole Howard will be relieved since he needed to see them both again. Cole will insist he's so glad that Victoria and Claire made it back in time. That'll leave Claire wondering what exactly they needed to make it back in time for. To say our goodbyes, Cole says in Y&R's weekly preview video. Since Cole's Legionnaire's disease isn't responding to treatment, he'll fear this is all building to some grim news. Claire and Victoria will cling to hope, but Cole may think they have to accept that this is the end of the road. The Young and the Restless spoilers reveal that Victor Newman may trade one problem for another. Y&R fans know Victor has been working hard to blow up Claire Newman and Kyle Abbott's romance with Audra Charles' help, but that could lead to unanticipated consequences. Claire has become fast friends with Holden Novak, who may be waiting in the wings when she becomes single again. Holden will no doubt comfort Claire if Audra successfully ruins her relationship with Kyle. In other words, Victor's sabotage plot may drive Claire right into Holden's arms. Unfortunately, Victor may not like Claire's next potential boyfriend much more than Kyle. At the moment, Victor is fixated on getting Claire away from Jack Abbott's son. As far as Victor is concerned, there's no worse romantic partner for Claire than an Abbott. Even so, we have a feeling Victor's going to object to the idea of Claire and Holden as a couple if that's where things are headed. For starters, nobody is ever going to be good enough for Claire in Victor's eyes. No matter who Claire chooses to date, Victor will always find reasons to complain. However, there could actually be a very specific reason for Victor to dislike Holden. In the June 26th episode, Holden mentioned connecting with a company that was new on the scene and buying up key properties in town. Of course, Adam Newman has been digging into this company and knows it traces back to Arabesque, which is owned by Aristotle Dumas, aka Cane Ashby, based on Y&R's preview video for the week of June 30th, July 4th. It's clear that Holden has a secret arrangement with Cane and is still working for him. Cane has big plans in Genoa City, so Holden is already tangled up in drama that's bound to escalate. Despite all the secrecy, it won't be long until Victor realizes what Holden's up to. Holden seems to genuinely care about Claire, but things could get messy if he also uses her as a pawn in Cane's game. Whatever the case, Claire will need someone to lean on if she splits from Kyle. That's especially true since it looks like Cole Howard may be on the verge of a fatal exit. If Holden steps up as anticipated, it's easy to see why suspicious Victor might stand against Claire's backup beau next. Will the boyfriend sabotage ever end when it comes to Victor's beloved granddaughter? The Young and the Restless spoilers reveal that Sally Spectra is starting to get nervous about Audra Charles's intentions. Audra certainly has her flaws, but Sally considers her a friend and wants to stop her from destroying the happiness she's found with Nate Hastings. That said, Sally knows how Audra operates and can tell she's in over her head with this whole Kyle Abbott plot. Audra is getting too close for comfort, so it's easy to see why Sally suspects trouble is brewing. Although Audra thinks she's in control of this situation, that won't be the case for much longer. Y&R spoilers have been hinting for a while now about Audra and Kyle crossing some dangerous lines in Nice. Audra is trying to stir up some temptation for Kyle, but she could end up surrendering to that temptation too. It could leave Audra with just as much to lose as Kyle when it comes to their real relationships. Audra previously suggested she could just give the illusion of impropriety to ruin Kyle and Claire Newman's romance. That plan may go right out the window if Audra and Kyle land in bed together. Now that Sally is on high alert and trying to save Audra from making a terrible mistake, she could be poised to catch the cheaters in the act. It's easy to imagine Sally walking in on Audra and Kyle steaming up a train car. Sally could at least watch the pair kissing as they enter one together and hear alarm bells go off inside her head. Sally was definitely unsettled when she saw Kyle applying sunscreen with his hands all over Audra. Y&R may be setting up a far worse shocker for Sally if she catches Audra and Kyle betraying their current romantic partners. If Sally does make a cheating discovery, will she rat Kyle and Audra out? Sally might agree to keep her mouth shut, but she still won't like how Claire and Nate have been treated. Audra may face a tight spot as well if she can't blow up Kyle's romance without blowing up her own. It could force Audra to rethink her sabotage scheme for Victor Newman and scramble to make some updates along the way. On The Young and the Restless, Cane has suggested that someone will try to kill him before the week is done. What are the chances? Let's take a stab at it, shall we? Cane Ashby has been torturing riddle lovers everywhere for months now while pretending to be Aristotle Dumas, a mysterious billionaire who's been smarting the great Victor Newman out of business deals for 6Y. Years now, undetected. But now that he's revealed himself, there's more to come. Cane implied to Amanda that he had more secrets, and apparently there's a dinner that can't be missed tomorrow at Cane's estate in the French Riviera. But a few things have happened both on the show and outside of it that make us wonder what's about to happen. Since we know there are no better armchair super sleuths than those on the internet, we present to you the facts. Billy Flynn recently likened his story on The Young and the Restless to The Great Gatsby. Okay, he might have been talking about Cane and Lily and comparing them to Gatsby and Daisy, but we already had the analogy for 6 months of Aristotle and the Count of Monte Cristo. So much so that I actually watched the movie. Point being that we didn't need to liken it to yet another classic tale, except there is a murder in The Great Gatsby. And that got us thinking. Cane pulled Chance aside and told him that he was concerned that by the end of the week, someone was going to kill him. How and who were our first questions. There are plenty of people there, none of whom we'd have to sleep with one eye open. Okay, maybe Phyllis if she was really mad, or Sharon if her drugs were poisoned. But unless Damien has that raging fury that his mom lamented about, is there really anyone on the train that would actually try to kill Cane? Secondly, how they would do it is important, only because Damien just happened to find a knife collection on the train and handled them. Thanks, fingerprints. We might not have it figured out who would try to kill Cane, but we can bet Damien would be a suspect. Will there be an attempted murder? The train tracks and road to the estate were wrecked in the storm, so they are sort of stranded there, but Adam manages to make it up the mountain on foot. If he can, someone else can too, especially if they're driven by revenge. Twin truths and bloodlines, Chance and Cane's shocking connection rocks Genoa City. In a quiet Washington, D.C. apartment, a single envelope changed everything. It arrived without warning, no return address, no explanation. Sealed tightly, it was easy to dismiss as junk, but instinct led Chance Chancellor to open it. Inside was a simple phrase, "He's not just a threat, he's your blood." Accompanying the message were DNA documents listing Cane Ashby as a biological match and a brother. Stunned and shaken, Chance took the next flight to Paris, where Cane had recently resurfaced under a new identity, tied to the mysterious Dumas empire. Years had passed since they'd last spoken. Their reunion, set on a Parisian rooftop, was not the confrontation either expected. Cane, expecting threats from rivals like Victor Newman or Billy Abbott, was blindsided when Chance silently handed over the envelope. His initial response was disbelief, a bitter laugh, but as he studied the DNA report, authenticated and official, the truth broke through. Trembling, he whispered one word, "Brother." The revelation hit them both like a thunderclap. Cane had no witty comeback, no slick denial. For the first time, two men who had spent years circling each other as adversaries or distant allies realized they were bound by blood. Identical features, shared instincts, Now, an undeniable connection. But questions came fast. Who had separated them at birth in Australia? Why keep this secret buried for decades? And why reveal it now, through a note labeling the truth a tragedy? Back at their hotel, neither man slept. They sifted through photos, old documents, and made desperate calls to contacts in Sydney. A theory emerged. Their separation had been deliberate. Someone with power, perhaps within the Chancellor or Newman legacies, had orchestrated it all. When the whispers reached Genoa City, reactions were swift and skeptical. Victor Newman, never one to tolerate surprises, demanded answers. "You expect me to believe this?" he barked in an encrypted call. But Victor didn't wait for a reply. He mobilized labs, contacts, and influence, treating the DNA test as a weapon, not a truth. Others echoed his doubts. Jill Abbott left a blunt voicemail. "You should test again, not for you, for Cane." The implication was clear. Cane couldn't be trusted. Chance disagreed. He burned the second DNA kit sent anonymously and defended his brother with a fury few had seen. When someone began following Cane, Chance issued a clear warning. "Touch my brother, and you'll disappear." Yet the threat wasn't only external. Victor, Victoria, and Nate speculated in hushed tones. Was this a ploy to manipulate inheritance, loyalty, or legacy? Could Cane and Chance's bond be weaponized? Cane soon received a chilling note. Blood can be faked, loyalty cannot. But Chance didn't flinch. "I don't need another test," he told Cane. "I know you're my brother. That's the only truth I'm standing on." Now, with secrets unraveling and powerful forces watching, one truth remains. This isn't just a family reunion. It's the opening move in a much larger game, and both men are determined to face it together. Young and the Restless sees Cane Ashby and Phyllis Summers, both determined to get what they want, no matter what lengths they have to go to, and soon they may realize they need to team up to do it. We're going to talk about how Cane and Phyllis might work together and wreak havoc on Genoa City. So, as suspected, even before the big reveal, getting Chancellor away from Victor Newman and Nikki Newman was one of Cane's main objectives. He tried playing nice with Victor. He even offered him all of his assets in exchange for Chancellor. And apparently, that's a great deal. Nick Newman said it was. But, Victor's not going to do it, even though Cane will be giving up far more than Chancellor's worth. But very clearly, Chancellor is important to Cane, likely because of Jill Abbott and Catherine Chancellor. And of course, Victor shut Cane down, and then Amanda Sinclair was talking to him about his disappointment that Victor didn't say yes, but at the same time, he was also fully expecting it to go that way. So I feel like Cane, like Victor, is a fan of chess, and he's probably several moves ahead. Cane probably has a bunch of irons in the fire, and at least one contingency plan that we already know about, maybe more. So, while he's got Victor, Jack Abbott, and the others in France, Cane has somebody working for him back in GC, buying up key commercial real estate properties. And it's pretty wild because it's Holden Novak, the supposed best friend of Damian Cane. Now, I wonder if, Cane's got this side deal going with Holden, and have for a while. Or maybe Cane reached out at the same time he fired Damian and made Holden an offer. Or he had Amanda set it up so that Holden wasn't really fired alongside Damian, and he's been lying about it, And basically, Cane just bought Holden's loyalties. I'm sure it was probably bothering Cane how close Damian got to Lily Winters, and that's probably why he got the axe. So, right now, back in town, Adam Newman's in a panic. He realized the new mogul in town is snapping up properties around the Abbott and Newman's businesses, which is a clear sign that Cane may be targeting not just Victor, but maybe also Jack. Or Cane could be buying up properties close to Newman and Jabot to throw Victor off his scent. And then we've got Phyllis on a mission to convince Cane to let her run Chancellor once he gets it back. But he told Phyllis this week his plans for Chancellor won't work out the way she sees. However, I suspect Phyllis might actually be able to change Cane's mind. Or maybe he comes up with a different plan, and he figures out he can leverage Phyllis to get what he wants more effectively. So, one thing Cane really wants aside from Chancellor is to win his ex-wife Lily back. She's 100% against that. Lily does not want Cane back. She thinks Cane is turning out just like his criminal father, Colin Atkinson. And let's be honest, after 6 years, Lily is well and truly over Cane Ashby and wants nothing to do with the man. Plus, Lily is getting closer and closer to Damien, and they get even closer very soon. So, once Cane finally sees that he's got no shot with Lily, at least not anytime soon, he may actually warm up to Phyllis. You know, when she pitched her big Chancellor idea, Cane promised to sleep on it. So, he's keeping Phyllis on the line, and he may wind up using her personally and professionally. So, Official Young and the Restless spoilers straight from showrunner Josh Griffith say very soon Phyllis gets personal and professional victories. He said she will finally be on top in business and in love. So Cane may be the one that finally gives her the business when she's wanted for a while. And he also hops in and warms Phyllis's sheets too. So you know, Cane and Phyllis are both single. They are not getting with the person they want to reunite with. In his case, it's Lily. In her case, it's Nick. So no, they're not going to be each other's first choice romantically. So, it could start out as just business, then turns into a hookup, and then maybe later, Phyllis and Cane catch feelings for each other along the way. Cane is absolutely determined to get Chancellor from Victor no matter what, and Phyllis would love nothing more than to destroy Victor. You know, she still hates him for the awful things he's done in the past, all with good reason. Plus, Billy Abbott hired Phyllis at Chancellor. And then almost immediately, I think less than a week, Jill made him fire her, and that really annoyed Phyllis. And then Billy replaced Phyllis with Sally Spectra at AbbottCom. So you know, Phyllis would love to rub it in Billy's face that she and Cane took Chancellor back from Victor, and she's got what Billy wants most. Plus, let's be real, Phyllis is an agent of chaos, so no matter who Cane wants to target, I bet Phyllis is going to be down for it. So once everyone's back to Genoa City, we'll see what Cane does with all the real estate he snatched up while everybody was distracted by his big party and the whole Aristotle Dumas reveal. And by the time Adam makes it to France and shows up in the railcar to warn Victor, it may be too late. Cane may already have what he needs to force Victor's hand. I'm not sure how buying up local real estate matters for getting Chancellor, but you know, it's Josh Griffith writing it, so we get what we get, even if it's not great. Plus, Cane might have some other ideas on how to sideline Victor and get him out of the way. With this whole murder mystery coming up, we could see Cane frame Victor to cause problems on Young and the Restless. You know, Phyllis would probably be really happy to help with that after the whole Marco incident. And I'm wondering if Chancellor is going to die because Connor Floyd has left Y&R, ironically, to take Billy Flynn's old job over on Days of Our Lives playing Chad DiMera. And the guys kind of resemble each other. So, it's a cute little swap. But let's face it, Phyllis has had a rough year or two, maybe 3. She faked her death to frame Diane Jenkins, came out of that looking like an idiot. Her kids were mad. And then Jack married Diane anyway, and they're happy. And Phyllis has no man. She couldn't make things work with Billy personally or at work. And Nick's got his eyes on Sharon Newman. So you know, the work situation is equally bad for Phyllis. She's been fired, unhired, driven out. I think the last truly big, legit business success that she had was with the Grand Phoenix. So, maybe it's time for her to rise from the ashes alongside Cane, and they unleash mayhem on all their mutual enemies in town. I would love to see Phyllis come out of her spiral with big plans and Cane there, and they're working together to make things happen. You know, I will say that the idea of Phyllis and Cane rising to power together is a bit scary. They're both pretty extreme when they feel things are justified. Together, though, I do think Phyllis and Cane could give the Newmans a serious run for their money. Billy may pay along the way as well. And Jack might be collateral damage if Phyllis takes aim at Diane as well. But if Cane thinks hooking up with Phyllis will make Lily jealous, I think he's not going to get what he wants in that arena. She might even wish Cane, you know, good luck with Phyllis, because you're going to need it. And as for Cane taking revenge on Victor, that's something that Lily and Billy and Jack and half the town could get behind. So, we'll see how many allies Cane has, or if he starts knocking things down one by one, and it's not just Victor he's after. But the mustache has pretty low likability in Genoa City these days. So, once they start plotting together, Cane may realize he and Phyllis really work at work and at home. And we could see magic happen. These two could flip Genoa City upside down. On The Young and the Restless, Billy Flynn stepped into some big shoes when he took on the role of Cane Ashby, and immediately tripped. When Billy Flynn joined the cast of The Young and the Restless, he knew something the rest of the cast and the audience didn't know. He was the new Cane Ashby. Filling the role previously played by Daniel Goddard also meant that Flynn was the mysterious, fake name-using billionaire, Aristotle Dumas. Dumas invited Genoa City's elite to his private estate from Nice, Roix-d'Aix, France, to his mansion on the French Riviera. There, his guests assembled and waited impatiently for his arrival. And when Dumas made his entrance, jaws dropped. But the cast playing the scenes soon had their gasps turned to laughter when Flynn started to act out his lines. It turned out that Flynn had a real problem saying Genoa City. In a Y&R Insider video interview, Flynn admitted he didn't know how to say it correctly. In some outtakes, and some jokes and teasing, he finally got it right with some help from Joshua Morrow. But first, he repeatedly said the city's name wrong. After some coaching, he came close, but to no avail. The cast took it in stride as they loved to have fun together, proving that Eric Braeden broke character while filming and told Flynn to say Genoa City 3 times quickly, which he did while the cast and crew burst out laughing. Of course, it didn't help that Braeden was talking over him, pronouncing Genoa wrong intentionally. Morrow finally called out across the set, asking Flynn how he would say Iowa. Thank God for Josh Morrow. I mean, he taught me the trick. Iowa Genoa, Flynn laughed, adding, but he waited until I embarrassed myself in front of everybody there to give me that tip too, so it's starting to feel like home. In another behind-the-scenes video, the cast was cracking up in between takes. After the first guests arrived, Aristotle Dumas made his reveal to the group. But later, while everyone was still in shock, Abby, Chance, Michael, and Lauren walked in. Abby was wearing a royal blue dress with draping sleeves. In an outtake, Joshua Morrow had everyone on set laughing when he jokingly said he was going to leave, but said, "I'll just say goodbye to Abby first," as he walked to a cocktail table that had a long, silky tablecloth in a similar shade as Ordway's dress. Cameron Grimes is back in a front-burner storyline on Y&R. The Young and the Restless fans are accustomed to Mariah being a supporting character. She's usually involved in other people's stories, offering comfort or advice. However, she's now got her own storyline, and Cameron Grimes is excited to see it play out. On Y&R, characters sometimes take a back seat to other players. Mariah is one person who isn't featured regularly, but makes pop-up appearances. However, within the last year, she's gotten more airtime. When her mother Sharon was drugged and framed for murder, Mariah was by her side. The story took a shocking twist when Ian was revealed to be the culprit. As Sharon's story ended, a new storyline began for Mariah, where her past trauma with Ian caused her to commit a heinous act. In an interview with Woman's World, Grimes discussed what it's like being back on the front burner. "Everybody understands how that oscillates this medium," the actress said. "You're gonna have years, maybe, where you're in somebody else's story, or you're adjacent to it. It kind of revs you back up. It gives you that little break and that moment to breathe, so you're not catapulted into emotion after emotion after emotion or crisis after crisis. For an actor, that break is very appreciated." However, Grimes is excited for her new story, in which Mariah's secret is destroying her marriage to Tessa. Then you have times where it's about you and it's full on, so you learn to ride the waves of that, and you get very comfortable with it. That being said, it is nice to be in the story in some capacity. With Sharon, I was playing the concern for her, right? I didn't get to freak out, but I got to watch somebody freak out, so I liked it. It was a day of drama, both in Genoa City and France on Y&R. In the July 26th episode of The Young and the Restless, Claire struggles with her father's diagnosis. Holden offers unexpected support, and Victoria and Nate begin to navigate the rough terrain of their past, while Audra tries to stay focused on her mission. At Crimson Lights, Claire and Victoria worried about Cole. Nate joined them, and he reassured them that Cole was strong and would be okay. Soon, Claire left, and Nate offered Victoria some banana bread to lighten the mood. She expressed her worry for Claire and Cole, but Nate reassured her that they needed to trust the doctors and stay positive. Their conversation turned personal as Nate admitted that spending time with Amy reminded him of his love for medicine. They both reflected on the friendship they once had, lamenting how it had fallen apart. Despite the rough past, they agreed that the important thing now was moving forward. Nate was supportive of Victoria, understanding how difficult it was for her to watch Claire struggle. Victoria was concerned about Nate's relationship with Audra. Nate acknowledged that Audra had changed, but he assured her that he didn't see her the same way anymore. Claire was still reeling from the news about Cole and the uncertainty surrounding his health. She wandered into the park, only to be met by Holden, who noticed her distress and quickly stepped in to help. Claire was overwhelmed, feeling like she was having a panic attack, but Holden reassured her and guided her through the breathing exercises to calm her down. Afterward, they decided to go to society for a drink. Holden and Claire spent some time talking. Holden shared that his life had recently been upended. He'd lost his job and was unsure of his next move. Back in France, Audra continued trying to seduce Kyle as they enjoyed some time poolside. Sally was there too, and the conversation turned to the upcoming evening's events. Sally called Audra out on her Kyle seduction. However, Audra tried to brush off any concerns, insisting that her interest in Kyle was purely professional. Sally couldn't help but notice the tension and warned Audra to be cautious. As the storm disrupted their plans, they found themselves stuck at the chateau. Billy joined them and echoed Sally's concerns about the situation. He suggested they focus on getting answers from Cane, but Sally wasn't as eager to stay. Despite her reservations, Billy made it clear that they had no choice but to stick around.